the mind is the first indicator of the disease. So the type of thoughts you start getting indicate the type of disease you're getting as well.
So let's talk about family constellation therapy, because I think that is many people still do not know family constellation, and I think it's so important how this can affect our body, our emotions, our physicality, also our mentality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Family Constellations was started by a guy called Bert Hellinger, and he's a psychotherapist as well. And he noticed, after working with the Zulu people in South Africa, that there's certain orders of love that we have in family systems. What does orders of love mean? It basically means certain ways of being that maintain a sense of order or health for the system. And if these orders are broken, misused or disregarded, then disease sets in, then emotional turmoil sets in. And we'll go through these orders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask, what are these orders of love? Yeah.
Yes. So the first order is the belonging. So everyone belongs to the system. Yeah. What does that mean? Often we exclude or we don't recognize or don't remember certain people in the family. Maybe it's a miscarried or aborted child. We don't give them a place. Yeah. Or a missing sibling, or an alcoholic uncle, or somebody who gambled too much or murdered someone or was murdered. And so we need to acknowledge these people, because if we don't acknowledge them, that they still exist in the system, they belong to your system. And when we ignore them, their representation takes in the descendants, in the people remaining in the family. Yeah, because their energy has to be present to balance your whole system. What do I mean by their energy manifests in the people remaining? Basically, the people remaining might, like I as a child now might represent an aborted or missing child by just feeling unloved or unwanted, okay, or feeling excluded, nobody loves me,
or rejected. Mm-hmm.
Or rejected. That's one way of looking at things. The other thing that happens is that if there's a child before me that was miscarried and I think I'm the firstborn, I will live with a sense of anxiety over performance, because I'm kind of making up for the life, or I'm living the life of that missing child as well as my own. And a lot of people have this unexplained anxiety and burnout or depression because they're doing that, right? They're living the life of a missing child or a missing person. Some people will get OCD symptoms, some people will get autoimmune conditions, some people will get actually other physical ailments, right? When we don't acknowledge these missing people. These missing people might also include ex-lovers of our parents. So if there's secrets in the family, that can actually destroy the health of some family members.
So is it like, let's see if I understand well, like the system has to have all the components, let's say in this way, and then it's something is missing here and there. It's kind of like the structure of the system gets out of balance. And then we are the system together. So it means the body can get out of balance. Would it be something like this?
Something like that, yes, because the system, let's just say the system is always in balance. So if we try and reject a person in the system, that act of rejection is an energetic act that manifests as something else downstream in the descendants. Basically, we cannot reject anyone in the system. We cannot deny their existence.
Okay.
Yeah, because their existence, for example, let's imagine my father had an ex-girlfriend and she's not acknowledged, and then he married my mother and I was born. I have to acknowledge that other girlfriend because of her leaving. Yeah, my father met my mother and therefore I was born. I'm a direct result of that departure. These acknowledgements, the healing sentences we use in family constellations, these acknowledgements can really free up our energetic entanglements we have with these missing people. Okay.
That makes
For example, for missing children, aborted children, miscarried children, I'll often have healing sentences, or I might say to myself, dear sibling, I see that you were before me, you came before me, you know, please look at me in a friendly way, that I lived and you didn't get to live. Because a lot of people will feel guilty, unconscious guilt, if they lived and another child didn't get to live in their system. It's a very deep, unconscious guilt.
Mm.
Okay? And then the other order is basically taking on responsibility that belongs to others. Often we do this for our parents. Yeah. For
Mm.
example, if mom is grieving because father is abusive, or she lost a child as well, we as children will take on some of that guilt or sadness. So we'll rescue mom.
Mm.
Yeah. And automatically then we come out of our role of a child, right? And we'll feel this sadness that doesn't even belong to us. And we'll walk around the world depressed, or even sometimes unavailable to other relationships, because we're preoccupied with mom's sadness or taking care of mom. So we make ourselves unavailable to our own freedom, our own life. This is very common. Or we might reject the father, right? Because he hurt mom, right? And so in a way, we're fighting mom's battle. And this is very normal. And it seems like the right thing to do. But when we reject father, who is also our source of life, our energy, we kind of reject a part of ourselves, right? And when we fight against part of ourselves, there can set in some sort of autoimmunity or depleted immunity.
Mm.
And I often see
And
liver issues.
we see that many times as the child like become trying to almost like invert the role of being the mother or the father of the real father. They become the adult, or trying to invert the roles
Yeah,
of instead of being a child, taking care of the adult or trying to help. Yeah.
absolutely. And this exhausts our nervous system, exhausts our mind as well. And we get so preoccupied with this issue in front of us that we forget to live our childlike innocence and go out freely in this world. And that's a setup of depression, anxiety, chronic diseases as well. And the other order now is slipping my mind, but basically it's like one is including everyone, then also not taking on responsibility of others, and the other one is also respecting your order in the family. So mom and dad come first, then the children. So if I take on the responsibility of the mother or the father, then I'm stepping out of the role.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry, the taking of responsibility is also the order of giving and taking, the balance of giving and taking. Yeah.
That's a very
So
important one that many times we do not have this imbalance, I think.
yes, yes. Often, we feel guilt if our parents gave us a lot. The best way we can give forward is to create life or give life forward or do good deeds in life out of respect for what is given to us. Or if a partner gives too much in the relationship, and is overgiving because they're in a codependent relationship, their partner, the person receiving, might even feel guilty of receiving too much, and will often maybe sabotage the relationship or leave the relationship because of that imbalance. Yeah. So the problem is not necessarily you, but the problem could be your partner who's overgiving out of compensation for their childhood traumas.
Yeah, this normally
Right?
is a dynamic, right? This dynamic of giving and receiving. It's
Yeah.
very rarely is only one side that it becomes a dynamic with past trauma. Yeah,
Exactly. And so in constellation work, we have healing sentences that will release the trauma. And I combine that with homeopathic remedies to release trauma as well. And we'll talk about homeopathy very soon. Yeah.
yeah. So can you talk about the liver detox, because you talk about trauma also, and it remind it. I would like to know more about the how the liver detox has to do with trauma also. That's an interesting thing. I would like
Okay.
to know more.
Let's first talk about the importance of the liver. Yeah. The liver is the master organ. It secretes bile. That's important for digestion. The bile also helps heal the microbiome. Yeah. The bile salts kill off the bad bacteria. The bile is important. When you have a healthy environment, your good bacteria grow better. So a lot of people are only taking probiotics and changing their diet, but they're not healing their liver. Yeah.
And the liver,
And
as far as I only remember that it has at least 500 functions. That's what I remember
absolutely,
from biology class. It's a very, very important organ. Yeah.
liver is super important for cleaning your blood, for improving digestion, for activating your immune system, for iron storage, B vitamin storage, blood sugar metabolism. So if you're struggling with weight loss, autoimmunity, chronic inflammation, even anxiety and depression, and you're trying to fix your gut or your adrenal glands without healing the liver, you're basically fighting an uphill battle. Once you release the liver, then everything starts flowing smoothly, because that's where the junction of all functions meet. Yeah, that's the junction that gets blocked in the body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you heal the liver, then you have better bile flow, better digestion, and better gut health. So you'll reduce autoimmunity that way by healing the gut as well through the liver. Okay. The liver is very related to emotions of anger and resentment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also issues to do with the father, I often see. And so if you are traumatized, one, you go into this fight or flight response, okay? And then you contract your body, you contract in your body. And if you don't get to release that, one, your vagus nerve gets dysregulated. And when your vagus nerve gets dysregulated, your vagus nerve basically controls your digestion, your liver function, your heart rate, your breathing, and other functions in your body. And so if you dysregulate your vagus nerve function through trauma, and the trauma creates these negative thought patterns, then what happens is, one is the function of your liver becomes compensated, right? Because the vagus nerve is also controlling your liver. Number two, your breathing goes more shallow or contracted.
Yeah.
And
also the stomach, the whole digestion can be quite contracted.
Everything gets contracted, right? And when your breathing gets contracted, your diaphragm is not moving up and down as deeply. So you're not even massaging your liver properly, right? So the lymphatics that are meant to flow through the liver in a smooth way also get contracted. So deep breathing is very important for liver release as well. And I'll talk about the homeopathic remedies as well you can use. So trauma dysregulates the vagus nerve, affects your breathing, also causes stronger emotions, or like anger and resentment, to get stored more in the liver because we don't feel safe to release them. Think those emotions are giving us power over the other person, but in a way they're actually making us sicker. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The trauma also sets your body into a fight or flight response. I cover all this in the online course, but I'll just sum it up very briefly here. The fight or flight response sets off your adrenal glands to produce adrenaline. And then unhealed trauma keeps you in fight or flight. So over time, your adrenal glands go into adrenal burnout. And when that happens, you go into a cortisol imbalance. And with the cortisol imbalance, of course, your neurotransmitters start dropping. So you go into more anxiety, depression, insomnia, OCD symptoms. But also with the cortisol imbalance, what happens is your thyroid levels don't function as well. And that causes more leaky gut syndrome, because the cells in your intestine basically need to stick together tightly. And if your thyroid levels are low, these junctions are going to become weaker. Yeah. And then you have more toxins leaking into your bloodstream, causing more inflammation, chronic inflammation, leading to more autoimmune conditions. Yeah. And also 70% of thyroid hormone is activated in your liver.
Oh.
So if your liver is stagnant, either from trauma, from stress, or from toxins, too much alcohol, too much medications, the birth control pill, whatever it may be, or inflammatory conditions, then your liver will not be converting this thyroid hormone into active T3. And therefore, you'll have all these downward effects of low thyroid function, including constipation, hormonal issues, then the worsening of leaky gut syndrome, right? And chronic fatigue, of course. An important thing about constipation is not only because of thyroid function, but also most people with constipation actually have low bile flow, because bile is a lubricant that helps your poop move well. And so most people with constipation, they're taking laxatives, which is a big mistake in some cases because the root cause is the liver. And once you detoxify the liver using some of these remedies I'm going to share, then the bile flows better and constipation usually resolves from a root level cause. Yeah.
Makes sense. It
So
makes sense now. Now you can see. It's so interesting because you are also a naturopathic doctor, but also psychotherapy. You can see the effects of the emotions and effect of your mental state in the body, and from the body to the mind also, how the body not working can cause anxiety and depression, the neurotransmitters. So that is not really a separation. We are one. Yeah,
we're definitely just one. It's just one experience. You know, the mind is a subtle manifestation of the body. Meaning, and Dr. Bach, who created Bach flower remedies, talks about this as well. It's the first entity of our being that manifests with symptoms. Yeah. And then the body starts getting the disease as well. Okay. But the mind is the first indicator of the disease. So the type of thoughts you start getting indicate the type of disease you're getting as well. And that's why I use homeopathy as well to heal the mind and the body together, because in homeopathy, we look at the character of a person. We look at the thoughts, the beliefs to determine which remedy is best for them. Oh. Right? And we also use homeopathy to heal the trauma. Right? In my online course, I cover all the remedies for trauma, some of the homeopathic remedies for trauma and for liver detox. But some examples include, for example, Ignatia. Homeopathic Ignatia is excellent if you've gone through a breakup and you're feeling tearful, you have a lump in the throat, maybe you cry when you're on your own and you have this sense of anxiety or overwhelm, right? And which is very different from another homeopathic remedy, for example, Aurum metallicum. If somebody's gone through a breakup or some depression, and they have a lot of guilt, suicidal thoughts, praying excessively, feeling a sense of failure, you can see that picture is different from somebody who has that lump in the throat and feeling anxious, right?
Yeah, very different. Yeah, very different.
And so I would choose most likely Aurum metallicum for that person. And that's the beauty of homeopathy, is that we look at the subtle nuances of the mind, the character of the mind, to see, okay, what remedy is needed for them. And because homeopathy is energetic in nature, it can heal the emotions. It doesn't suppress emotions. It transforms them into a healthier state, right? So it's like releasing trauma from the body. And then when you do that, your nervous system relaxes, your cortisol levels come more into balance, your liver starts releasing as well, and physiologically you start changing as well. Yeah. A lot of people are familiar with arnica, for example, for bruises.
Yes,
right?
That's I know.
Arnica is homeopathic.
Yeah.
Arnica is homeopathic, but it works energetically. So you can use arnica for shock as well. Yeah, for emotional shock as well.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, you can use arnica, or aconite is great for shock and trauma as well. There's many remedies, including homeopathic opium. Opium is also great when somebody is stunned and they're feeling numb and maybe have sleep issues and even constipation after shock and trauma,
So in terms of autoimmunity, so I'm sure there are several, I think now medicine and homeopathy for autoimmunity, but would they have one that is, okay, this is a very good, simple one that is good for any type of autoimmunity, or we would not have that because it needs the individual character or personality for each person? And also each kind of autoimmune disease also, because they are different. There are so many.
Exactly. You just answered your own question, but I'll reframe it. Yes, you're right. So with homeopathy, we look at the individual character of a person. Okay. And in autoimmunity, depending on the condition, if it's joint pain, if it's a skin issue, etc., then we choose different remedies. Okay. And then there's different remedies that have an affinity for joints. we can use some of those remedies. Like Rustox is excellent for joint pain. That's worse in the mornings, better with movement, better with warmth, but it's not necessarily the best one for autoimmunity, depending on the root cause, right? So I will look at the emotional traumas of a person, and I'll heal that using family constellations, EMDR, Gestalt therapy, somatic experiencing. I'll add some of the homeopathic remedies to release the shock and trauma so that the release is deeper, right? And then I might look at other specific homeopathic remedies for their autoimmune condition as well, right? For example, somebody with psoriasis, it could be from suppressed anger. Psoriasis often related to liver toxicity, right? It could be from suppressed anger. And there I might use Staphylos aureus for suppressed anger, right? Or it could be just, anger, maybe with anger anger with a father or a mom. Yeah. So there's a relationship problem there going on with a parent. And if it's with father, often we might use calcareous carbonicum. Yeah. With mom, we might use either natrium muriaticum or magnesium muriaticum. Okay. Or a sense of abandonment, you might want to use natrium muriaticum. Yeah. So depending on the experience a person has in the trauma, we select a remedy, to heal that experience. That the experience a person has shows you what kind of remedy they need. And that gives a lot of relief and can relieve the symptoms of the autoimmunity to some level. But I'll often add other remedies specific for that organ, whether it's the skin, whether it's the joints. So it's a more complete healing as well.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense because I think, as I was saying before, there is no separation between the mind and the body and our past, also our history, what happened in our lives also influence who we are today. But doesn't mean it needs to be like that. We can change by doing this work that you're doing, also to shift the perceptions or the trauma that is stored in the body or the emotions that have been repressed. I see anger as one of the most difficult emotions many people feel because they think about the object or the object could be a person or could be a situation that caused anger, but most people have a lot of difficulty to allow them to feel the anger, the emotion itself. They think about, they don't really feel. Once you feel, it's released from the system, from the body. But it seems to me anger is something that people have a lot of difficulty to feel. I don't know if you feel
with good reason. Yeah, one is there's a lot of shame around anger, and a lot of times also, anger and aggression is a very natural expression of a child, of a baby. But what happens is growing up, our parents, our environment also gives us safety. And sometimes when we get if we get angry with a parent, there's an internal conflict going on because we are getting angry with somebody who's giving us life, supporting our life. So there's an inner conflict of, okay, it's not safe to aggress against this because it's also giving me life. So that's the first beginnings of the suppression of anger. It's a survival technique. Then, of course, you have other layers, like society makes you bad if you get angry, or it's wrong, or it's shameful. Yeah. Or you're not strong enough. You're showing weakness if you get angry, right? You're meant to hold things together. So there's multiple layers coming from society, coming from religion, coming from our upbringing that contract our mind and help us control those emotions that need to be felt once in a while. And I have a beautiful
this balance of, it's not exactly to repress, but it's also not to react and explode. And many times people don't understand that to feel anger doesn't mean the reaction of anger, but means to really allow to feel that emotion in the body and to be released. But I think we are very accustomed to acknowledge that. We are very accustomed to repress. And then fact, now I don't know how to do.
No, it's So I have an exercise on my website. It's free, where it teaches you actually how to feel certain emotions that you might be blocked from feeling or feel ashamed about. And the exercise really helps your nervous system actually touch upon these feelings so they can be felt a bit more deeply. Yeah. But not permanently, just once in a while. And that once in a while actually allows the nervous system to say, hey, okay, it's okay to feel this and not feel this. So you're not contracting into one behavior or another, or you're not trying to be positive all the time. Yeah, you're giving yourself permission to feel. And when you have permission to feel, you give yourself permission to heal. That's
Oh,
very
that's
important.
very important. Very, very important. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna come to an end soon. And I would like to have this, I'm gonna put the link below for people to access your homepage. So you can click the links below to access the page and then access this exercise about feeling also. And I think that can be very good for the audience to learn how to feel and help them with their feelings and emotions and get a better nervous system. So,
Absolutely. And there's also free videos on gut healing, liver detox, and adrenal support there as well. Yeah.
oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. But before we finish, I like to always, end the session asking if you have any final word to tell people who are suffering from autoimmune disease.
Mhm. What's coming to me, what I'm channeling intuitively is letting go of the blame. Sometimes, we are stuck in this blame game back and forth, back and forth. And sometimes by letting go of the blame, we're left with our vulnerability, with our isolation, with our sense of aloneness in the situation. And we're so afraid of feeling that space that we hang on to the object of the problem, the blame. Yeah. So I invite you to experiment with, you know, don't say the blaming is wrong, but acknowledge you're doing it and see what it feels like to let go of the blame and feel the vulnerability behind that blame. And tell yourself it's okay to feel this once in a while. I'm good enough. Because often we don't feel good enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blame is a defense mechanism of not feeling good enough after a situation. And if you can visit that part of you that really doesn't feel good enough, inquire. Whose story is that I'm not good enough with these emotions, with this situation? It's not yours, somebody else's. Yeah. Go into inquiry and self-love in these vulnerable places. And I promise you the action of blame and resentment will lessen slowly as you become more familiar with your vulnerability. And that's where the healing takes place.